It's risen much faster than inflation.
Why do you think it's risen?
In part, I think it's because college is significantly impacted by labor costs, and labor in the United States of any sort is expensive. On top of that, there seems to be more and more technology involved with college. That makes it more expensive. And I think on a certain level, you need a higher education to statistically do well in the economy, and therefore people are willing to pay more. Well, you're either going to have to take out loans or you're going to have to spend more time paying for it up front, which means your education is going to take longer and you'll have higher opportunity costs. You're giving up more in order to get that education. So far it seems to be, because statistically I believe the average college graduate makes close to double over their lifetime what a high school graduate makes. So statistically it seems to be worth it. In addition, just free market economic thinking would argue that it's worth it, otherwise people wouldn't be paying it. It seems like more and more students at our school are ending up at state schools. I certainly see a higher level of anxiety, I think, among my students. That's just anecdotal, but it seems to me people are a lot more worried about how they're going to pay for this. I think for most of my students it would make a lot of sense to do everything they can to avoid a lot of debt in undergrad, because I think a lot of the students we have at Judge will end up doing graduate work, and I just think limiting yourself by having an inordinate amount of debt after undergraduate just puts you in a more difficult situation when it does come time for graduate or professional school. Beyond that, I guess you just look around. One obvious strategy is community college for the first 2 years. If you go to an in-state community college, you can get almost an entire 2 years of education that can be directly applied to a 4-year school, and I believe it's roughly half the price at a community college than it is at a state university like USU or the U. Well, you've obviously got people who are taking longer to go through school, and to the extent that that's true, you are going to have lower productivity and output for a certain amount of time, because if you could go to school in 5 years and get out into the workforce and instead have to take 8 years in order to afford it, in effect you're talking about 3 productive years that have been forfeited to the economy. I don't know statistics on it, but I would think there are probably people out there who are not going into fields because they simply can't afford to go to college. They can't figure out a way to make it happen. That again is a kind of loss of an economic resource. You do wonder whether it's going to plateau, but as I say, given the realities of the cost of labor, I think a lot of schools are trying to figure out ways to make it cheaper by, doing massive online open enrollment kind of courses. I think that's a lot of what's driving technology in education right now. I'm unconvinced that most people are looking at technology as a way to increase the quality of learning or pedagogy. I think the biggest reason people are thinking about technology in education is it's cheaper.